will be inspiring and enlightening for everybody. So let me introduce to you Carlo Alberto Carnevale Maffè, Professor of Strategy at the Bocconi University School of Management, and it's a gift for all of us. So I strongly suggest you to close your PC and your phone and to enjoy.
Thank you. Well, the future is artificial. Also, the cash flow is somewhat artificial. So I entirely share the need of confidence, trust, but also we need capital and new labor. So my discussion today will be on how I see, from the point of view of a researcher, from the point of view of a manager. I'm in the board of directors of venture capital, one of the largest in Italy. I was a member of the board of directors of this organization for 10 years. We listed on a stock exchange, we sold it to Docomo. So I've seen it, and I trust you guys in being the most interesting project of the European Commission as far as technology is concerned. I was serving as an advisor to the e-business advisory team for the Commission in the early 2000s. So we anticipated your birth, and here we are to speak about what we see as a business opportunity. Cloud-based platform, and that's what I think FIWARE is, will go from traditional value chain to become an institution. I welcome you as being the new founders of the technological Europe. And you must be confident about it. You are the new institutional layer that will eventually put together this collection of dispersed nations plus an open world window. So let me speak about how do I see your activity in the future. This is my opening slides. If you remember Blade Runner, Roy Batty was inducted into the market on January the 8th of 2016. So guys, we're already a few weeks late. I suppose that there is some cyber here, definitely. Looking at your faces, definitely that's the case, right? But what I'm saying is that the future is artificial. If money is not available, we need to invent it by other means, okay? If capital is not, if trust is not available, we will not be waiting for the gift, okay? You have the duty of inventing capital, labor, and trust. Because hard times are ahead, and beautiful times are ahead. First thing, Carl von Clausewitz, okay? Digital strategies, open source platform are a continuation of politics by other means. That was my initial statement 15 years ago when I advocated for the birth of a European-based software architecture. Open source if possible, here you are guys, okay? And as a community, you have to play the role of substitution of local institutions that are no longer able to address the issue of complexity and ecosystem. So I'm really serious in expecting from you, as an ecosystem, not just a portfolio, an institutional view. We need to really see the future of Europe, not just the future of your community, the future. And Europe as a paradigm of how the world should be collaborating. Open source, international, open-minded. So I'm really putting a lot of expectations on the future of this community. That was the initial design of the commission when giving you. So forget your nationality and embrace the spirits of cosmopolitan technology. Also because cloud-based platforms are economic institutions, are not just technological infrastructure. Okay? And I was speaking about this to our friends of the media agents. Where is Ogilvy? There. Hello guys. Okay. You're putting too much technological buzzword here. Okay. One of the fundamental things is to get understood, trusted, and credible by mainstream men. Okay. Get above and beyond the nerd and geeks community. We need to include the mainstream business. You know, grown-up entrepreneur, real companies. Get out of the cage of technological developers. You are a laboratory of organizational innovation for everybody, inclusive, not exclusive. Okay? A crossroad of exchanges, a platform of relationship. That's what you are, a library of APIs. And you were born as a library of APIs. But you are the e pluribus unum, united process of the economy. That's what I see as the logic. So think business, think people, not libraries. Also because a cloud is not a locker, it's not like a storage, it's an economic hub. It's a place where everybody meets in order to take the next plane for the universe. You know the difference between an airport and a hub, okay? Malpensa is an airport, okay? It's in the middle of nowhere, and you basically land there and good luck, okay? Frankfurt is a hub. Amsterdam is a hub. Also because what in the world will take you to Frankfurt, okay? If not for the central bank, thank you, or for taking a flight for everywhere. And that's the logic of FIWARE, a hub. You don't go there for staying around. There is no need to stay there, but it's the hub. Everybody concentrate there to take off somewhere else. And concentration, critical mass, convergency is the name of the game. Another thing, that's another Frankfurt issue, okay? You are the ECB of data, the lender of last resort, that's the logic of open source, okay? You can print the money of trust, the money of standard, the money of interoperability. You have the power. Actually, you are the issuer of legal tenders in technology. You are those who sign the banknotes for exchange. Take this responsibility. And that's the logic of blockchains, for instance. The cloud and the cloud platform is not a technical subject. Again, go beyond it. It's an economic predicate. It is the attribute of every and each supply chain industry. Okay? So declinate FIWARE and the logic as an attribute of the main thing. And do not do the reverse, okay? At this stage, you're still self-centered. At this stage, you're still looking at your belly. You should be looking at everything else through the eyes of FIWARE. So declinate and translate your beautiful concept for the many languages of businesses. Also because the new center is not your beautiful platform. The new center is at the borders. And that's the logic of APIs. The logic of APIs is the center is where we meet. The center is where we exchange. The center is the core point. And that's the logic of an ecosystem. An ecosystem is not a list, it's not a portfolio. You guys are not a portfolio of startups. You are an ecosystem. You have to invest in interdependency, exchanges, standardization. You must become the best marketplace. Yes, a trade center. Also, because, and that's an important link, the internet, traditional internet, has been the place to reduce what we call information asymmetry. On the internet, everybody knows everything. That's the one. Google, information of all the world made available and organized. That was era first. Okay, now we are in the era in which your job is to become the place where organizational asymmetries are overcome. What are organizational asymmetries? The ability of everybody to organize. What is a set of library? It is the availability of organizational tool made easy to access to everyone. And the open source is the ultimate organizational asymmetry reduced. Organizational asymmetry reduces the difference between small and big firms, between startups and established firms. Organizational asymmetry lowers the hills and fills the valleys. It is a fantastic tool for deflation, here we go, okay, for inclusion, for disruption. It is a very important element. It will rip away the sources of rent and monopoly. You're not a place of storage. You're not a place of transit, storage, and delivery. You are a place of memory. What's the difference? Memory is a stock of learning. Memory is a generator of positive externalities of information exchange. there is the full history of whoever and whatever crosses your platform. You have to retain and learn from anywhere and from anybody. And this if you like, this architecture is not fully, as far as I can understand, it's not fully, yet fully embraced. Okay, you're still a collection of somewhat like a dispersed initiative, sharing the same language, but you have not yet designed a memory, a collective memory. I tell you, Europe goes nowhere without memory. Civilization goes nowhere without memory. If we want to become a new institution, we need to be able to incorporate memory. Also because artificial intelligence, which is next, needs memory to learn. So it's not just because it's politically correct. It is, business-wise, an intelligent move. So design places to store all the memories of all the transactions. Make your future connected with your, small past. But it's fundamental that this trust and credibility that has been quoted as a fundamental challenge for the future becomes a clear technical design. At this stage, something is still missing. In order to give the sensation to everybody, as to all the stakeholders, that that's the place to be. Not just because of future opportunity, but also because of ability and capacity to retain and attract and retain all the memory of the relevant business processes. Yes, and you also become the ultimate incubator. Why? Because being born on FIWARE must accelerate and maximize the opportunity for growth. So your integration with venture capital, private equity, capital investment must be the one of the fastest accelerator of opportunity. Okay, this is somewhere there already, okay? But what I see is that there is no clear positive externalities of working with FIWARE as an accelerator of business, okay? A lot of opportunity, a lot of wonderful, beautiful technological design, but not yet the perfect, the logic of born global enterprises. I remember writing an essay on the internationalization of this company, Buongiorno, early year 2000. And we studied the idea that, everybody in Europe starts from one country and then expand to 3 countries and then expand to the world. FIWARE should be a different way, okay? You should start from the world as your home country. Do not trade for anything less than 100%. The only way to dominate is to become the trigger of critical masses. One of the unlucky situations of Europe is the fragmentation of its languages and its market. China and US have been in a huge advantage because of the immediate access of their final user base. So they go critical mass much faster than what we can do. If we think national, we are dead. FIWARE is an attempt, at least logically, to do leapfrogging this logic. Not even think as Europe, think as the world. Then you become the ultimate incubator, not just for Europe. You need to become the ultimate incubator for every business in Thailand and Brazil. If you open up this story, then we don't compare with California or Shanghai. We have the typical European attitude of thinking to be the center of the world, which is fine. It is. We are a complex organization. We are many nations. We are a social experiment. Sometimes successful, sometimes a big failure. Okay. Welcome in the world. We don't expect to be the emperor, so we don't expect to be the dominator. We expect to be the servant and the enablers of the world. Our attitude as European to the world is not domination, it's facilitation. That's very important, guys. It's the difference between us and the Americans and the Chinese. I love them, both of them, but we as European, we need to offer a different point of view to the developer and to the business on the rest of the world. And that's why don't sell FIWARE as a way to become international. Sell FIWARE as a way to be born global from day first. Okay? Also because it's a land of Highlanders. Now, if you remember the movie Highlander, now only one will survive. Exactly. The very logic is that there is only room for excellence on the continent. Okay? And it's perfectly logic in economic thinking. Okay? You are a portfolio of natural global monopolies. That's what you are. Okay? Only the best of each domain of application and logic has to survive. All the other beheaded. Again, being an open source community, that's a tricky story. You need to be at the same time monopolies and open standard. You don't need to internalize the benefits of being monopolies. You need to externalize the benefits of being monopolies. And how do you externalize it? Trust, stability, interoperability, standardization. Fantastic, right? You are the new lingua franca, the new common language. And common language must be a monopoly. Otherwise, everybody speaks like, the Tower of Babel. And thinking as an ecosystem of natural global monopoly is an essential cultural challenge for you. Otherwise, you are a dispersed community of random business initiatives that are crossing one each other. Fine, I'm not saying that, but that, that's a beginning. As a domination strategy, as a imperial logic, soft imperial logic, open and inclusive imperial, but imperial must you be. Let's move to a second part, trust. Credibility last year, confidence, I sum up as trust, okay? Credibility and confidence. Trust is essential to capitalism. Trust is essential to technology. Trust is essential to standardization and interoperability. Immanuel Kant, a great European, a great thinker, he thought of, for the first time, together with Augustus, okay, of a universal law unifying all the world. We are just few steps away from the first example of this, the blockchain. And I assume that everybody in this room has got at least a bit of exposure to the concept of blockchain. I define the blockchain, which is the architecture behind the bitcoins and cyber currencies, as the dream of Immanuel Kant of a universal norm. That's why blockchains, as a standard of interoperability, as the metaphor of FIWARE, are civil institution, not just technological infrastructure. It's not just a network, it's not just a library, it's a topos in Greek. Topos means a city, a place you establish a community, a place where you dwell and live, where everybody wants to live. And the logic of cities was to attract people from the country, from the fields, because there you got density, respect, trust, security. Founders of the new city. That's the logic. Not a portfolio, but an ecosystem. A system has a lot of interdependency. This is a problem, if you wish, in financial terms. Why financial guys love portfolio? Because they distribute risks, right? You don't put all the eggs in the same basket. Unfortunately, you can't be a portfolio. You must be a system, and systems got a lot of interoperability. Therefore, risk is compounded. So you are more risky, but you must be worth the big bet. You must be worth it. And you can only be worth if you have an ambition which is proportional to the risk. If you don't have that ambition, your entire design is too risky. You will never get there to confidence. I'm sorry. Either you go for it big or you will never make it. You can't be half-cooked. You can't be, halfway. Because of the nature of the project, which is an interdependent system. It's not a portfolio. A portfolio is risk spreading. An ecosystem is risk compounding. I'm just reasoning with you as I was sitting in a board of investor meeting, right? When I have to invest my money, say, shall I invest in a FIWARE platform or that? I do invest in a FIWARE if you sell me the idea that the system delivers more leverage and scale rather than a portfolio. Otherwise, I will go for lower risk. Either you sell me the advantages of this, or I will go for the lower risk. I invest less with less risk, maybe less rewards, maybe some less unicorn. You are not a selection of potential unicorn, right? You are the founder of New City. So, protocols are the new codes, your API, the new course of universally accepted law. Here we go, trust machine. What are blockchains? Blockchains are a technological attempt to build artificial trust without using human transaction, just by adopting voluntarily the rules and the standard of a given technological protocol. Therefore, laws and negotiation becomes artificial, and that's great, okay? Because we have a problem in Europe. We have so many different legal systems, okay? And one of the fundamental elements here is to go beyond the transactional cost about legal system. That's why we're better than Americans, because they assume that the rest of the world is just a big America. We don't assume that. We know that reality is complicated. Second element, capital and labor. And by capital, I mean, don't fall in love with euros as the only form of capitalistic flow available. Data sometimes are as important as nominal capital. Second, labor. We are in front of a massive substitution of human labor by robots of any kind, agents, software, algorithm, and you guys have to be aware of that. Okay? You are the new factory of Roy Batty. Okay? You are the manufacturer of this Nexus 6 being inducted into the system. Get this responsibility, and don't be afraid of doing that. Fundamentally, blockchains are a platform of verification and certification of processes across companies. Real companies, not just startups, no, mainstream companies. So get ready to rewrite or re-architecture everything, from centralized to decentralized to distributed architecture. You are in between here. You are in between, because a lot of data sets and elements must be rethought in distributed way. Briefly, what is a blockchain? Is a service, is a service platform like you, with its own constitution, written, embedded in the rule. It's a world ruled by mathematical function. Wonderful, right? Immanuel Kant made real by mathematics, okay? No? The starry sky above my head and the universal law of mathematics in my soul. That's a declaration of the universal logic. And the blockchain is more than a collection of API. It is more than a list of and a portfolio of application. A blockchain is, for instance, the end of monopoly of certification and monopoly on sanction. That's why it's an institution. Because there is no central place where somebody says, this is true, or this is authorized, or this is certain. Fundamental, because we won't be able to embark and to board on developing and business communities worldwide if we retain the monopoly of certification. That would be imperialism. That would be unacceptable. That's very American, if I may. And I love my friends American, but they still design Facebook, Google with a center. And the center is there, and they control the center, and they have the power. We need to think the entire architecture, not just as an open source, but as a thousands centered model, where nobody is in charge and everybody is participating to the certification and the sanction. Just to remind you, certification and sanctions are the reserved power of a state, of a nation state. Okay? The nation state certifies a contract, the nation state sends you the policeman if you don't respect it. We are replacing the logic of national power in certifying a contract and giving sanction. Therefore, also setting payments. This guy is the ultimate monopolist. Mario, Super Mario. Super Mario is not Balotelli, okay? Super Mario is Draghi, okay? Regulators, you see it, you see the story, okay? They do not control, they no longer have the monopoly of their territory. This guy can print money, but deflation is here to stay. This money has no longer power to control, the price of assets, which is fantastic for me. I'm a true classic liberal. I hate central banks. You guys are the antithesis of a central bank. You are a distributed, dispersed source of authorities. Wonderful. Since you are that concept, this logic is your enemy. Not enemy in the sense we have to kill Mario. I love Mario, he's a bright guy. Okay? But all the formal power we need is not the authority given to us from God or queens or parliament. No. It is the trust and credibility given by critical mass. That's the ultimate provider of legitimation, right? Critical masses. Either you become the Highlander or you are nobody. That's the ultimate thing. Your minimum optimum target is 100% of your domain. If you can't get 100% of a bigger domain, choose a smaller domain. But don't trade for anything less. An ecosystem of natural global monopolies. That's what I see as for. If you become that, even small. But the logic, you are the foundation of this new institution. Don't go dispersing your energies like a laser beam. And the owners of these protocols, the owners of the data formulas are the new central bankers. Here we go. Those who control the data formula are the new central bankers. Then those central bankers may not apply arbitrage or seigniorage to their money. Fine, that's the logic of open source. Yet they are the new central bankers. Yet they are the place where people go and ask for the price of assets. Data is the new money, and you are the new central banker. And those who control the flow of data, like those who control the flow of money, are the real emperor. And that's the Baron Russian that said, I don't care about who's in charge of the political thing. Okay? I control the flows of money of the British Empire. I am in charge. This is Tom Grisham that said the Grisham law. Bad money drives out good money. You are the bad money. Bad means the money without legal tender, right? Without legal fee. But you are the provider and the printer and the distributor of the real bad money. What is bad money? Data. Data and protocols are bad money because they can buy and they're typically spent before real money. Look at Facebook and Google. You typically pay and get paid through data. Money is the last resort. If you think of this, you become a perfectly well-trained architecture to move from the basic structure of blockchains to the most sophisticated area. Let me show you the future. So we have a plan, we have a time-based. Fine, that's the delivery time of FIWARE. Let me give you the business projection, okay? Targeting millions of users through blockchain, through transfer payment, tips and crowdfunding. Becoming a place where there is data as a currency. Second element, packet services, identification, certification, identity, ownership, membership, naming, voting. Places where you don't just pool, okay? you take the role of a member of certification identity. Third level, smart contracts. Get rid of lawyers, notaries, bureaucrats, red tapes. You are those who are deemed to replace them, to make them useless, not just to beg for their payments after 286 days, right? Okay. The very idea that here smart contracts are a self-fulfilling commitment where negotiation with our partners become implemented without human intervention. Finally, decentralized autonomous organization, which is replace the role of nation states in welfare, school education, transportation. You know what is the biggest market for you guys? Replace the role of state as the final intermediator of roughly 45% of GDP in Europe. That's it. Your biggest market is big G, where G is government. As a target of replacement, your logic can substitute the expenditure of public money. That's why I say data is the new money. And reorganizing the services of a civilization, starting from Europe, and extending the logic of wealth, trust, citizenship, ownership, that we have experimented in this wonderful and complex ways to the rest of the world. It's a way to make welfare, civilization, rule of law available everywhere. Well, not an easy task. I'm not extending your target for the next 20 years. Fine, here we are. Okay, this is not an easy story, but it's a very ambitious project. Okay, let me give you an example of what I mean by blockchains and smart contracts. Okay, the bells of Rome and the Snickers of vending machine. Bells of Rome. The earliest example of a blockchain is the chain of distributed bells in Rome. What are distributed bells in Rome? They are not controlled by the Pope, right? They, ring the bells distributely, and they tell the world it's noon or it's 3 o'clock. They set warning signals, church schedule, war schedule. They are distributed, autonomous, open access certification of public transaction. You are the towers of the bells of a new city. When you ring together, it's lunchtime, okay? So you need to ring together independently, which is the tricky thing. Together independently. If you do that, there is no central tricks that can change the schedule of work or church. Because in order to trick it, in order to hack it, you need to corrupt all the priests and all the churches of Rome at the same time. But it's expensive and unfeasible. And the logic of distributed, coordinated entities makes this a very reliable structure. Indeed, the Catholic Church is still around, as you can notice. Okay? Just to give you a more modern example of what blockchain is. Let me give you a quiz, a simple quiz. Which innovation in the past 50 years has given the single most relevant contribution to economic globalization and growth of global GDP? 3 options: television, civil aviation, the internet. Any guess? Number 3? Easy peasy. No. Maybe. No. The answer is the box. A parallelepiped of 6 faces made of simple metal. This is the beginning of the Internet of Things. This is the ultimate standardization that allowed billions of people in China, Milan, or Thailand, or Indonesia to become members of a global market. Because they didn't have to specify the delivery specification or the logistics specification. They put everything in a damn box, and this damn box has got all the information to travel all over the world. You remember the Internet TCP/IP protocol? Exactly. Okay, invented 40 years or 50 years ago, the single most important contribution to world trade. this little agreement made the mankind richer and more prosperous. Incredible. And everything else, ships, trucks, harbor, cranes, has been adapted to a simple set of mathematical measures. 20 inches, 40 inches. 20 feet, 40 feet. As simple as that. So, don't look for complexity. This is all about critical mass of mathematical functions. Simply, if I may, just for the future of your community, read this book. This book by Mark Levinson is an economist, contributor, T-Box. Okay? It's a wonderful story. It tells you how simplicity and openness, because this is an open system, nobody owns the protocol, okay? But as enormous externalities, it tells the story of how you become one of the most powerful global driver of growth with simplicity, humility, and openness. The dream of FIWARE. If you make a story like a container, guys, you will change the world. I'm serious. An example of a smart contract. What is a smart contract? A negotiation without humans. Okay? A vending machine is exactly what I mean. The supply chain has been defined entirely. Payment systems are defined. There is no salesman there, and there is no buying process. It is basically exchanging protocol. Okay? Candy rights management. So self-enforcing. It takes coins. It distributes goods. Okay? It's basically a state machine. Breach costs are too big for the little coins. It's a perfect smart contract. Very efficient. It can distribute. If you remember, at the beginning, it was just about coffee and snacks. Today, you can buy an iPhone on vending machine. This is the software translation of a vending machine in a smart contract. Just a set of code algorithms. Just to give you an idea. So vending machines are an automatization of exchanges. Indeed, vending machine lowers the barrier for exchange. They include all people from all generations. They do not make transaction costs higher. They lower the cost of distribution for every brand. They need to be designed very smartly because it's a matter of trust. Because you put the little coin in the black machine and you expect that given the rules, you get a candies, right? It's about trust. Good. Just to give you a more modern example of what a smart contract is, AdWords. A genius, a piece of genius. AdWords has no salesman. Is a smart contract worth billions of times a day, my friends of Boggleby, okay? Totally distributed, there is no central organization fixing. For instance, look at prices. Is there a list price of Google? Is there a marketing department that said the price of this ad is $10? No. It is entirely distributed. Lowering the transaction cost, every bid for every click in every page of the world is interactively defined by the market. You bid, if you're first, you get first line. If you're second, you get the second line. It's a smart contract. Then it requires trust, standardization, interoperability. Just the story we've been telling for the past 20 minutes. If you make it work, you become Google. You have disintermediated generation of salesmen and purchasing agents. You don't need to purchase, you don't need to sell. A smart contract is an embedded set of trust rules based on libraries, technology, all things in it. But no, you need to make this further step, the logical institutional step of designing yourself as element of every organization, not just software application, apps, games, tricky things. No. You need to become the lingua franca of regular business. And this is like Google AdWords work, with mathematics basically. Implication and application of smart contract for you guys. Security, transaction cost, enforcement, privacy, integrity, mapping. For application, savings, derivatives, financial exchanges, voting system, intellectual property, micropayments. Smart contracts are the way in which you guys transform your open source logic. Open source is not free of charge. Open source means there will be no extraction of intellectual property rights by the monopolist. That's fundamental. But open source is not, it's all free of charge. And the cash flow problem that you guys have is not who is the next donor, or how can I assure I have the next financing grant. It is designing, embedding the economic nature of the extraction of value into an open source community. That's why you guys need smart contracts, because the cost of transaction must be zero. If you want to make money, embed smart contracts into your library so that you can be paid, whether in euros or in data, whichever your customer or your partner prefers, whichever currency they choose, whether it's Bitcoin or dollars. But you have to embed smart contract in order to, economically regulate the exchange. Because open is not free. And the future of corporation is not being free. Okay? It's not being with zero money. It is choosing, embracing openness is not gratuity and goodwill. Embedding openness is a cynical and logical design of standardization. That's what it is. Okay? You need to be lean and mean machines of domination, open-minded and inclusive. Well, with the logic, that is, we need to become number one, 100%, and we need to embed smart contract. You want to use us, it's open, but please pay with whichever currency through smart contracts. As we jump, another fundamental thing, in order to gain trust, in order to gain credibility, you need to hire hackers. You guys are too good. Nice guys, honest, transparent. We need more bastards, okay? More SOBs, with the tattoos, okay? With Rasta hairs. You need to, contaminate your community with new faces that give the situation that, yes, you are the good guys, but you have the bad guys on the other that are challenging systematically. And that's why we are trusted. That's why we are credible. Because we systematically test our solidity and architecture with hackers. Hackers are the best providers today of real trust. If you survive them, guys, you're fine. So, briefly, quickly application for Europe of blockchain and smart contracts. The technological conditions are very simple: install-based of apps, geo-localized, and dense. Density is the name of the game. Don't go for global adoption without density. I prefer full density in a limited environment, because density provides standardization. If you count your user, and if you don't sum them up, if you don't give them weight, they will be fluffy and dispersed, okay? You don't want to be a mile wide and an inch deep. Just the contrary, okay? You want to be a mile deep and an inch wide. But we do have this technological condition: postal services, railway, public transportation, banks, over-the-top messaging, gaming platform, mobile. We have those conditions somewhere in Europe and in the world. Second, economic condition. We need to be providing miners. Who are the miners? The distributed certifiers of data. Those who certify data. And data certification is not central. The logic of blockchain is that everybody participates to the certification, and there is no central basis. We need to include metadata, and we can do what? For instance, public vouchers for welfare, for instance, for paying your child school, private coupons like ticket restaurants, road pricing, admission tickets, private and public transportation, medium publishing, micropayments, medical services, pharma, rehab, wellness, fitness, schools and education, like
compliance. Have you studied, have you passed the exam? Who certifies that you passed the exam? The teacher? Really? Or a global community of dispersed testers that will give you a voucher because you have learned that element. And that diploma, that micro diploma, is valid throughout the community. It becomes liquid, it becomes interoperable. Financing, notary service, insurance contract, real business. I repeat, the biggest market for you guys is big G. It is the part of GDP that is being intermediated by government, which is inefficient, politically biased, dispersed, fragmented. Unify and make it efficient. Finally, future of machine learning and if you like, digitalization that becomes artificial intelligence. So far, you guys have been busy in doing basically repetition. Okay, your library is a very efficient way to repeat things over and over again at the very marginal cost. That's what you do. Okay, you do very well engineered repetition. Next, we need to learn. Okay, we need to be able to describe. So second element is description, not just description. This implies that we keep memory, right? Or whatever we do. We need to be describing what happens with our library. Third element, prediction. Okay, need to interpolate. So whoever comes to your place, to your platform, has a full description, automatic description of the environment, and a little bit of prediction based on interpolation or extrapolation. Finally, prescription. Those who come to FIWARE in the next 5 to 10 years will receive the recommendation on how to do, not just the availability. Okay? Open source and clear prescription. Finally, the idea is that learning, in this case, will change from our ability to draw a line. This is a statistical approximation of a phenomenon. Okay? Whereas the map, as you can see, is the reality in which a machine has been able to learn from each and every point. So this is a classic regression analysis. This is isobar for graph facilitated by machine learning. As you can see, the ability to represent reality, this is very synthetic, which is fine, but it's very inaccurate because this is a better description of reality. And this again, this is the passage from our human ability of description, and this is machine learning ability of description. Another element, like Google or Apple is trying to explain it, AI is 10% smarter than your average engineer. And this is said by Google engineers. So can you imagine, if their robots are better than their engineers, we need to take a big leap of improvement. So finally, don't think of library. Don't think of lists, okay? Think of being the business school of software-defined organization. Think of releasing the MBA for designing an organization starting from FIWARE. I told you you are the ultimate incubator. Firms, business units, new initiative must be conceived, designed there, not just adapted there. You need to become the laboratory of entrepreneurship of new and old firms. So stop writing behavioral procedure for humans, okay? Written in natural alphabetic language. Stop, printing these beautiful infographics. What you need to do is to kind of become something like my colleague. I teach in a business school. I really need the new handbook, okay, of designing business. And I need to translate your beautiful set of technical opportunities into an entrepreneurship handbook. It's difficult, I know, but that's the logic. Software-defined organization. From the point of view of economics, this is this equation of cloud-based platform services. V multiplied by P is always smaller than the M of M multiplied by S. V multiplied by P is volume per prices. So the classic way we measure things, how many times you bought it, which is the list price, and that's the revenues, okay? This is a different logic, okay? This is a membership multiplied by subscription. Subscription might be monetary or non-monetary. Subscription could be paid by euros or by metadata, but it must be paid. You are not a free rider of the community. If you join, leave externalities of your data. Make the community richer by fair exchange. To design this equation of services is essential. Otherwise, you have users but not affiliates. Otherwise, you have adoption but not institution. I will not measure you guys by the number of libraries included into startups. I will measure your success or failure by the ability to create permanent membership and affiliation. That's an institution. The other one is a library with a counter. No. We don't count, we include. Finally, this is Rome, this is Romulus, okay? Romulus, you are basically, blowing a furrow to mark the boundary of this new city. Here, this is it. You are at the very beginning of civilization. There. A desert hill, nothing around that. You are designing the perimeter of a new city. If you don't have this ambition, guys, you don't become, the platform of an institution. You need to have this. And this is the final word. It's less technological. This is Michelangelo's St. Matthew. This particular statue is located at Galleria dell'Accademia in Florence. If you ever go in Florence, everybody goes to see the Michelangelo statue. Girls, let me give you a recommendation. Don't trust that thing, okay? Regular Italians are not like the David, okay? We just, average, okay? Don't, because I see all these Chinese girls that taking picture of this. It's fake, it's a demo, okay? It's a demo. No, it's like a, don't look at it, okay? That's at the end of the corridor, okay? Don't look at that. Turn right, the first statue on the right is this. This is much better. It's unfinished. It gives you a final message. We have an idea of a great, energetic character which is imprisoned by stones. And that's the idea of Michelangelo. He saw a block of stone. Within the stone, he's got a clear idea of the character trying to get out of the stone. And his idea of sculpture was an arte per via di levare, an art, a craftsmanship, by the way of taking away. You, as a sculptor, you have the duty to free that figure within the stone, to get him free, to clean the cages. This is the logic I ask you to adopt. Okay, you have to have this idea of this guy. This is St. Matthew, and as you can see, he's trying to get away from this stone with his book in hand, because he's got a story to tell. He's got a wonderful narration to be told. Right? And that's the fundamental energy that must be kept. And by carving out this figure out of the stone of technology, you have to give this message to the world. Exchanges, standardization, interoperability, wonderful thing, like a gospel of technology. But I recommend you to do it with a little bit of cynical attitude. First, on public institutions, don't ask for money, replace them, okay? Don't make them your provider of cash. Make them useless. You are the future of the institution, not the client of the institution. You are their future, not their, granted pools. This means redesigning the services of a national state of Europe by using your libraries, by promoting their use. Market integration. Think of entire market, fashion, food, media. Think of that, and put your platform with the sense of purpose. redesign your platform so that a member of that industry can see the light. Today, it's okay for geeks, but if you take a regular entrepreneur of Florence that are making the most beautiful shoes in the world, I say, let me introduce FIWARE. What the hell? Okay. They need to see you as their ideal provider, community for the future of the supply chain. Still, you're not doing it. You're speaking to the converted, okay? You're preaching to the converted. You're not St. Matthew, right? You don't take the risk of going outside of your comfort zone and try to speak to the unknown. Finally, organizational model. I'm okay with the portfolio of startups, with various initiatives. It's fine with the first logic. Okay? We need to introduce the logic of crowdsourcing of skills, new capital structure, new selling cycles. Okay? We need to become a big organization of small firms. You need to become the example of organized capitalism, which changes the logic from I'm the owner of my startup and I have a community which I meet regularly on a basis of collaboration, into a theory of organizational model that resembles, it's a mirror of your technological architecture. If you make an organizational copy of your technological architecture, you guys are able to free the prophet from the cage of conservatism, of backwardness, of resistance, and let them tell a beautiful, wonderful story to the rest of the world. Grazie mille ragazzi, thank you.
Exactly, institutionalizing the processes and norms of the culture.
Exactly. Write the new rules, not technological rules, organizational rules. Become a library of organizations, a library of API. I know it's a bold statement, but then you become, the generator of a new capitalism. Again, trust, capital, and labor. I'm not kidding. It takes a new step. You have conceived and successfully developed one of the most comprehensive, library of applications. That's fine. Make a further step. Transform your mechanical robot in right back. And then we will see things that you humans couldn't even imagine. Yes?
We have 6 months left. We can rewrite our bill. That was what Peter said before. I really love what you're saying, but how do we do this? I think we're sitting together since over 18 months. You started working on this early 2000, you said, or
Yeah.
So I love it, and I think it's really great that we have just little time left in order to really move from a technology-driven platform to a ecosystem.
Ecosystem organization.
We have 2 days to work together.
Right.
We'd love to see
Honestly, there is no silver bullet, but just putting ourselves the challenge is the first step. Okay. Then it's impossible to expand the technological platform in organizational way for all of us, all of you. You probably need some element where you start, some example, and again, choose an industry, choose a vertical application, choose an example, choose a sponsor, do some lobbying, okay? Restart a new, cycle of evangelism, if I may, okay? But you need to start now, before the technological cycle is completed. You need to start now to begin a new cycle, which is an organizational cycle. And I think it's just about time for Europe today. Think about frontier control, the future of Schengen, right? It's a very modern question. How do you welcome citizens or reject them? What's the balance between privacy and security? is there a library for citizenship? Okay? And then get the money from the bloody politicians to study that. Because we need a technological solution for Schengen. We just don't want to put millions of policemen around the corner of Europe, right? Now, just, of course, you need to jump on something where politicians are very sensible. Now, okay, I say, listen, guys, there is no fix out of this way of working at anything. And I think security is a very hot issue, and you guys can do a lot. As I told you, distributed, autonomous organization where certification is good. You don't want a big brother, okay? I'm saying security because it's a hot issue, and if you ask politicians to put their money where their lips are, they may be putting that, and you get the possibility of organizing a distributed community of security and oriented startups all over Europe, and experiment a way in which a technological community provide a clear, visible service for the institution. It's just a simple recommendation, simple idea, but don't start from your agenda, start from their agenda. Start from the agenda. What's hot in their mind must become your first example. They will not understand exactly what you mean, but it doesn't matter. As long as they put the money on the table, fine. Okay? Yes?
Isn't that development kind of difficult to be supported, for example, by an institution like the European Commission, which is like blocked by exactly that situation of states thinking in their own terms? And are we not seeing or what you're actually supposing, you're suggesting is that we're getting that out of the society side? So that means replacing, having like a parallel system next to the European Commission, next to the normal government. I'm not sure if that's like really the interest, in the core interest of the European Commission to develop something like that, or is it? I don't know, it would be great. I see that's coming anyway. I think that the more we fail, the more it will come.
Exactly. Do you think that they have any idea about the future? They don't. No. Wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity to provide them one, okay? You are the new pilgrim fathers of this new colonization. Take this responsibility, my friends. Okay? I'm serious. You don't need any more legitimate. You just have to believe that you can make it. Okay? Honestly, I mean, you're bright, you're educated, you are open-minded, you've got the best opportunity in the past 10 years to work in a wonderful environment with the most advanced logic of technology. I think you are lucky. And all the lucky guys have to share. So take humility and pride together, go there, and devil politicians, you guys need us. And I'll tell you why. And at this stage, I think of course, you need to go and include the business, the value chains. As I told you, I tell you, open up your minds, don't be focused on technology, include business, fine. But at this stage, the only possibility you have to reach critical mass is to get a second cycle by the institution. With a simple statement, we can solve problems that are impossible to solve with the current ways. And we have been designing the technological architecture, like roads of the Roman Empire, like money, like currency. You are the provider of the fundamental standards that make a society work. I'm serious. Yes?
I think that Europe is different from the values and norms from the United States and China. Where do you see the areas that this kind of system in Europe would have a global dominance?
You're British, are you?
No, by the way.
E che cazzo, allora, So you come, you go, this Europe is not a hotel, right? Either you stay or you go. That's, I love my British friends, I'm just kidding, of course. Yes, and that's the difference I'm betting on to become better than our American friends. Because we are inclusive, we deal with complexity, we are internationally, we are born international because we are too small to be national. I don't know how to say it, okay? And that's a great, great advantage. Europe is the new New York, okay? If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Serious. Yes.
I still feel like after brain surgery. Now, and the only question I could really come up with right now is, do you see examples where that sort of thinking starts taking roots? Is there anything sort of, when I go away today, where I can look at, like, you will be gone, is there anything else I can look at next best to what you have been telling us?
Logistics, payment systems, banking, business schools. Oh yes, oh yes. There are many processes in which national boundaries are definitely inefficient. Okay? In which the real thing is exchanging data, and in which the minimum set of agreement we need is a protocol. There are many things. Again, logistics is a classic example. There is no central coordination of logistics. It works. When I made the example of the container, I really mean it. If you work with a logistic guy, they are people from all over the world, and they magically make the things happen. And you've got people from the east and the west, it's wonderful paper. Nobody speaks the same language, they all work together. Business school is the same story. Take an MBA class, wonderful example of making a dream work through people that meet for 1 year and still become a very strong alma mater, a very strong community. Very example of that. Of course, it's a beginning, but to have the technological tools, the mindset, the need. Guys, the need. You really want to go this way? We don't go anywhere. We don't go anywhere, honestly. Growth is go, okay? Nationalism is revamping. Everybody hates everybody else. The British want to come and go. The Americans couldn't care less. The Chinese are slowing. The Indians are dancing, okay? I think Europe has to take responsibility of complexity. It's complex, my friend, I know. But we thrive in complexity. This place is the place for complexity. If you look for simplicity, go California, okay? If you want to handle complexity, Brussels. Grazie. Yes, cazzo, quante domande? Yes, please.
I just wanted to make a comment.
Please.
The speech that you have given is really fascinating. There are a number of dimensions that, sincerely speaking, you have introduced as a model that open a field of opportunities and a bunch of opportunities in terms of business model. Now, again, I think that there is an issue that you have mentioned about the creation of a sensitivity from politicians that generate a market. Now,
it frees the market. The market's already there. It's there, but it's inefficient. We spend 45% of GDP by politicians.
We
Can you imagine?
have been discussing with the European Commission, and Peter knows perfectly, about the role that the European Commission, or even national government, or the local government, should have in creating a sensibility to innovation and innovative model that can facilitate the adoption of a distributed model like the one that we have presented. I think what they have given is an excellent representation that maybe has oversimplified these key elements of connection. I mean, we live on the market every day, and we know that decisions taken by politicians are not related to dream, efficiency, or whatever, are related to the first part of the equation that you have presented. I mean, number of pieces for cost, for money, whatever. And this is a point. Maybe we could better achieve success with them if we could look at the equation that you presented, saying that the standard model is always less than the new model, if we can quantify in which term is less. I mean, what is the economic advantage that we can achieve in social terms if we go
come up with a new sustainable model for welfare?
Absolutely.
Schooling, education, healthcare, transportation, institution, security, citizenship, come up with that, because to me, that's a wonderful market. It's the biggest market in Europe. We talk about trillions of euros that are badly spent and even worse achieved. So my idea is that you go back to politicians, not to beg another financing cycle, but to carve out a piece of services that are inefficiently provided by national states and becomes the new platform for providing those identity. In Italy, with a bunch of parliament members, we're designing what we call the integration of the vertical state. We're making the back end of state identity data centralized and available through open platform. I would put FIWARE in between and then say everybody can become a provider of state services, schooling, certification, good luck. Like an Apple platform. By decoupling the government from the central core, which is monopolistic, the rule of law, okay? From the core to the front end must be competitive. The back end must be centralized. So let's define the new core, the new back end of Europe. And let's go to Brussels, say, okay, you guys are stuck, okay? We'll start from, again, security. We start from citizenship, single identity of European citizens, smart cities, smart things, smart wearable computing. There will be the distributed policeman, the distributed surveillance system, a blockchain of distributed security. I think if you put this issue today on the table of Brussels and politicians of Strasbourg, I think somebody would buy it. And again, it's difficult, it's complex, but in 1 hour I wanted to challenge you, not for the next 6 months, for the next 6 years, for the next 60 years.
Again, I mean, my comment was just to say that it's not so easy, but it's the road.
Yeah, you're not here because it's easy. You're here because it's fascinating.
Sure.
You're here because it's challenging.
Okay. There's another comment, if I can make. I mean, I can also go to see Michelangelo here in Milan, because Pietro Danini
is here. Yes.
Exactly the same.
Yes.
What happens with the model, because already we are doing that, but a very small scale. And the thing is that we have convinced the town hall that we can provide the service. That they were spending a lot of money into it, exactly like you have said. And now the town hall has become a client buying the service of one of our guarantees. But it's just one token, yeah? But how can we make it bigger? That is now the issue, because in 6 months we will
it's our question. I have no answer. I just want to invite you to really consider that question central for the future of your community, for the future of our institution, and start lobbying our politicians with a different language, Now, don't ask them for money for a technological platform, okay? Offer them a new way to tackle and address hot social and political issue of Europe through technology. So start from what is already at the center of their mindset and their pockets. Because it's easy to address money that are already allocated and to get those money, other than asking for new money on something which is not in their priority. You are a universal tool to address real challenges. Start from real challenge. What are the 3 priorities of European politicians today? Okay, start from them and ask them. We have a solution here, which is a permanent, efficient, scalable solution, inclusive, that may be exported. The very idea that we will sell the technological asset for security checks to Brazil okay, to Indonesia. That's what we're doing. Not we, but our startups, our open platform will be able to test here in Europe and then export it. Europe has been exporting social institutions for 2,000 years. The rule of law, intellectual property, money, trust, road system, cars. So I don't think we should stop, my friend. Final question, please.
Yeah, you mentioned something like we have to go from centralized to decentralized ways of thinking and doing work and labor in a trust way. You mentioned about artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchains, and you said something like we need 5-6 years to arrive there. We're somehow in an accelerator environment. How we can accelerate this to happen, not in 5-6 years, but 2-3 years from now, and have more European leaders and have more, technology solutions that are implemented worldwide?
If you take one or two areas, again, education, health, security, you can make it in 2-3 years, even less. If you find a solution for tackling identification and authentication of entry in Europe, today you can make it in 18 months. You need to get a hot issue, real money, and energy, and focus. And then, of course, you replicate. But start from the agenda of politics. Start from that. You are the language to describe a problem. But you are not the problem, okay? You are the vocabulary, you are the grammar. Start from the thoughts of politicians and structure them in a formal way. That's what I'm saying, okay? You are the language, the lingua franca, to express in an orderly, structured, and scalable way an institutional problem. But start from that. You're not the problem issuer. You are the solution issuer. Yes?
This is honestly very difficult because I can just take from experience from Germany, for example, right now. We're tackling a crisis, which is the refugee crisis.
Ma davvero?
One of the biggest ones that
I know.
Yes. And I just said, okay, exactly what you just said is not possible because we see that the German state is failing in a few areas on handling the crisis. Definitely. For example, Berlin, definitely one of the best examples ever. So I worked on that. So we said, okay, we went to the politicians and said, look, we can set up a platform for you. We can help you on registration that thing. We can also legalize that thing. There was like no chance of getting through. The thing how you're going to have to do it, and the only thing how you're going to be quick is going to do it illegally. That means you're going to have to make facts, and then you're going to have to get to the politician and say, look, we've established that. It's not our purpose, but we did it.
Hire hackers, as I told you.
It's extremely difficult for Germans to do. We follow
for the good or for the bad. I love it.
But
listen, okay? Politicians are better convinced by fear than by reason. But listen, be bastards.
To change their minds and that needs a severe crisis to overcome that idea of not having a state giving a rule, but making a rule. This is something that is not so easy to implement. This is a mental change.
Right, but if a German asks an Italian, shall we follow the rules? What would be the answer? Okay.